Okay, good morning. As we go to the Chitas of the day, today is the 26th day of Kislev, and it's a Tuesday, which is the third reading in the portion of Miketz. We're holding in chapter 41, verse number 39. Vayomer Pare el Yosef, and Pare told Yosef, after God has told you, as Kol Zeus, all of this, God has told you all of this. There's nobody as smart as you. So I don't need to seek anybody, Rashi says, understanding a wise man, as you said, but not will we find anyone like you. Verse 40, after Tial Beitzi, you will be upon my house. Valpich Yishra Kolami, and on your mouth, on your command, will all my people shall be nourished. Besides the throne, my chair, I will be greater than you. So that says Yishak. The Onkelos translates it as Yizan, Tizan, Yitzan, shall be nourished, shall be sustained. All my people, necessities shall be provided through you. Raka Kisei, besides my throne, that they will call me king. So whenever the throne is the kingship, the term donating kingship, it makes the throne greater than the throne of my Lord. So we have the concept of the Kisei HaMelech, the throne of the king. Kisei HaKoved, the throne of God. Pare told Yosef, behold, see, look, I have appointed you upon the entire land. So that's in Asati, Kamimantias, I have appointed you. Nevertheless, expression of placing, and to place you with a greatness or lowness. Nesina is an appropriate term to that God that somebody put you there. The Pharaoh says, I put you there. Yosef Pare took off his ring, Mal Yodei from his hand, and he gave it the ring in the hand of Yosef. And he clothed him in fine linen. And he placed a golden chain around his neck. So Rashi says, the giving of the king's ring is a sign to one who is given that he should be the second to him in greatness. Big day sheish, fine linen. This is the linen of an item of value in Egypt. Revad, a chain, and because it consists of links placed on a row, it's called a revad. So that's the concept of a chain. Verse 33, then he had him ride in the chariot of the second rank, Ashaloi, which they called before him, Avrech Menosnei Sakolich Mitzrayim. The king's patron appointed him over the entire Egypt. So the chariot of second rank, there's 1 second to his chariot, which goes next to his. Air Force 2. This is the patron of the king. Aramaic, the word, the rach, avrach, in Aramaic is king. She said, the partners, he inherited neither king, recha, nor son of a king. So you see the word rach is a concept of a king. In Agoda, Rabbi Yehuda expounds Aver refers to Avrech, refers to Yosef, who was a father, an Av, in wisdom, and Reich, he was tender in years. When Diskva said, how long will you pervert the scripture for us? Because Avrech is only a term denoting needs. For all would enter and exit under his hand. That's why he's called excuse me, that's who it's called an Avrech, because he was the one who everything went through him. Verse 44, V'yema Paro, Yosef of Pharaoh said yes to Yosef, Ani Pare, I am the Pharaoh, Ubeladech, and besides you, La Yadim Ishes Yadim Israel, no one will put a hand or a foot, Chol Eretz Mitzrayim, in the whole land of Egypt. So Rashi says, I am the Pharaoh, and I have the power to enact a decree upon my kingdom. And I decree that I decree that nobody, that no one should raise his hands without your permission. Another interpretation: I shall be the king, and besides you, it's a parallel to only with a throne. Meaning, although I give you the exclusive power to raise your hand and foot, as explained below, I still supreme rule of this land. Don't become too strong. Vayikra Pari Shem Yosef, Pari gave Yosef another name, an Egyptian name, Tzofnas Paneach. Vayitalias Osnas Bapetifer Kayin Oin, and then he gave him the daughter of Potiphar, the governor of Oin, the Isha for a woman, for a wife. Vayetze Yosef al Eretz Mitzrayim, and Yosef went forth on the land of Egypt. Rashi Tzofnas Paneach means he explains hidden things. Tzofnas, he sees. Paneach, those things that are hidden. Paneach has no parallel in scripture. Potiphar, who Potiphar? This is the same guy that threw him into prison. So his daughter. But he was called Potiphar because he became emasculated since he desired Yosef for homosexual relation. It's one of the reasons why he was thrown into prison, because both Potiphar and his wife were chasing after Yosef. But we know the Medrash says that Osnat was what do you call it? Dinah's daughter that was given away for adoption. She was born from the story of Shechem. So really, this was Dinah's daughter who was given away to adoption. The Medrash says she had an amulet that said the Shema on it. And when later it was revealed, she realized actually he married his first cousin. Yosef ben Shleishim Shana, Yosef was 30 years old. Yosef was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, Yosef went out before Pare. He traveled through the entire land. And what he did was, in the 7 years of plenty, the inhabitants of the land gathered food by handful. The land made. This will be understood as the tiger entered and the inhabitants of the land gathered. However, the language does not lose its meaning of making. He made the land. L'kamotzim, handful over handful, hand over hand, they were storing. They gathered, they collected all the food of the 7 years. That was in the land of Egypt. And he placed food in the cities, the food for the fields surrounding the cities he would put within. So that's just because each land preserves its own produce, and they would put into the grain some of the soil of the place, and it would preserve the grain and prevented it from decaying. So he became a master farmer to make sure that the food would grow and it would grow plenty, and it would stay and be preserved. And Yosef gathered grain like the sand of the sea. So much is such an abundance. Okay, there was storehouses and storehouses upon storehouses of grain, until one who counted stopped counting. Came Mispar because there was no number. And here the word ki is used expression because there was no number. And Yosef at that time, in those 7 years, had 2 sons. Before the famine came, who gave birth to him, his wife, the daughter of Petifa, Asnat, the daughter of Petifa, the governor of Ain. From here we learn that a person is not allowed to have a relationship. And Allah says, if there's a famine in the city, in the country, you're not allowed to have sexual relations like it was in the time of the Mabel. Certain times that it's prohibited to have any kind, like on a fast day, you're not allowed to have any sexual relations. And Yosef called his firstborn Menashe. God has caused me to forget all my toil. Let's call base Evi and all my father's home. God made me forget. Shem Hasheni called Ephraim. And the second one he called Ephraim, Kifrani Elikim, because God made me fruitful. Be'eretz Ani, in the land of my affliction. And that completes the Chumash for today. We're now going to the Tanya of the day. And this is the second chapter of Tanya, second chapter. The first chapter, the Alter Rebbe introduced us to the first soul. The first soul, the Alter Rebbe introduced us to 2 souls. That we have 2 soul concepts within us. And we have a godly soul and an animalistic soul. He introduced us to an animalistic soul first. Because as we know, that the godly soul is slowly developed in your body, while your animalistic soul is right there when you're born. So that's why it says that your godly soul comes in. If you're a man, it comes in by your bris. By your girl, it comes in with a baby naming. Then by the bar mitzvah and bas mitzvah, it comes in more. And then by the marriage is when it comes in completely. So that is a journey of the soul, where the soul slowly journeys into the body. And we know in Chassidus that even that godly soul that journeys into the body, there are 5 levels of the soul. And that also is a journey within itself, going from one level to another level of this godly soul. And that's why the soul, your animalistic soul is called a melech zaken uksil, meaning that it's older than your godly soul. And that's why it's a struggle, because the animalistic soul tells your godly soul, you're a new guy in the block. So now you're bar mitzvah, shalom aleichem, or bat mitzvah, like who asked you to come here? So that's why there's much more greater struggle. Your animalistic soul is called older than your godly soul. This is all symbolic, the concept of Esav and Yaakov. Esav is that's why Esav is the animalistic soul, but it's born first. Physically, it's born first. Yaakov is the godly soul, which is spiritually born first, because Yaakov was born first, was created first, came out second, was created first as your godly soul that is created before your animalistic soul, and it comes in after your animalistic soul. And that's why Rivka is told that you have 2 souls. That's when she felt when she got pregnant, she thought she had one child, which made her very painful, because this child was a Jekyll and Hyde. Whenever he passed a synagogue, he was running out to a synagogue. Whenever he passed the opposite of a place of idol worship, he was running out to idol worship. So that's why when he went to the prophet, she said, the prophet told her that you have 2 souls. You have Esav and Yaakov. So she was happy with that. So she felt, I don't have one child that's mixed up. I have 2 different children. In essence, and when one and the prophet tells her when one shall overpower the other. So that's the struggle. We have 2 souls. We have a godly soul and an animalistic soul, and the struggle for one or the other. They cannot rule equally. There cannot be equal rulership in this body. Either your godly soul is in rule or your animalistic soul. And that's the struggle between your godly soul, between my godly soul and my animalistic soul. So now the Alter Rebbe introduces us to the second soul. And that's the Beinoni. Beinoni is the struggle, the lifelong struggle of the godly soul and the animalistic soul. Nefesh Hashenis B'Yisrael, the second soul, second unique soul that was given to the Jewish people, He Chelek Elokah Mimal Mamish, is a part of God above. Mamish. Mamish is truly. Mamish. Truly. Meaning the Alter Rebbe, actually the Alter Rebbe, this Chelek Elokah Mimal Mamish is a statement not of the Alter Rebbe. It's a statement in the Zohar. The Alter Rebbe adds the word mamish, which means real. This is not a figurative concept. This is not a good one-liner. This is not to make you feel good. This is reality. Each and every one of us has a godly soul. How do we know that? So the Zohar says, when God created Adam, it said He blew within him a breath of life. It's interesting that God, when He created everything in the world, when it comes to creation of man, He talks in a total different language. So when in the creation of the world, even animals, when God created, He said, "Let there be a cow, let there be animals," and there was animals. When God created man, He said, "Let's make man." He first made him out of earth. And then He blew within him a breath of life. An animal also has a breath of life. He's living. Also breathes. He's also the heart that pumps blood. What's the difference? Because there is a difference. Because God gave us a godly soul. And that godly soul is different than the animal. That godly soul comes from the breath of God. Now again, all these expressions is an expression that gives us an understanding, maybe, of what a deeper understanding in the concept of creation. God doesn't breathe. These are all human terms. As the Gemara says, in general, the Torah talks in the term of man. God got angry. Open your hand, please God. God's wisdom. All these are human expressions. God is above humanity. He's above any concept. He's infinite. And therefore, you cannot give God any kind of human terminology. Why does God give human terminology in the Torah? If God is above any kind of human kind of expression, because the Torah wants the human being should understand God. And therefore, humanity only understands what he knows. And therefore, the Zohar says that every expression of the Torah is to teach us something. Every way the Torah expresses itself is to teach us. So, for example, it says, that the world was created through God's speech. God doesn't speak. So what do we learn from that? The world was created through speech. It's to teach us that the whole world is an outer expression, like speech. Speech is for somebody else. I don't speak for myself. I speak for somebody else. And therefore, the whole world was created for something else. That's an outer expression meaning. The whole world was created for something else. And that's why right away you say, in the beginning, God created. Rashi says, for the sake of Torah, Beis, and for the sake of a Jewish person who keeps the Torah. So the whole world is there for something else. Then man was created with the breath of God. By Yipa Ba'apav Nishmas Chaim. And God, even though everything has life of God, but when it comes to man, that's what the expression is. God breathed within him a soul of life. So the Zohar says, "Va'ata nafachta bi." The Zohar goes on the word nafachta. You blew within me. Why? What is the meaning of that expression? So we know we have a breath of life. We have a neshama. Here's the first time we have the word neshama. That we have a soul. Again, everything has a soul. Even a cow has a soul. But over here is a special soul. It's a living soul. It's not just a soul that comes through speech. This is a soul that's deeper than an outer expression. This is an inner soul. This is something closer to the source. And therefore, the Zohar goes in further and says, you blew within it. As the Zohar explains, that when the Torah uses the word nafachta, you blew within me, it's coming to tell us something. Torah doesn't use words, if not to tell us something. So what does the Torah tell us when it says nafachta, you blew within me? So the Torah says, look at yourself. He who blows from within him. You have to take a deep breath. If you want to exhale, they tell you take a deep breath. You take a deep breath and you take a deep breath out. So that means God, from his innards and his innermost being. So now you introduce two concepts. Chitzonius, outer, pnimius, inner. In life, there's chitzonius, there's an outer expression, and there's pnimius, there's an inner expression. In another term, you have kli, a vessel, and or, a light. Or is an inner concept, and a vessel is an outer concept. You have neshama and a guf. You have the soul, which is an inner concept, and a guf, which is an outer concept. You have the Torah, which is a vessel that has within it Torah or, the light of the Torah. So you have the actual scroll, that's the vessel. The letters, which is the vessel. And you have the or. You have the pnimis, the inner aspect. So too in creation. God created the world through an outer expression, and he created man through an inner expression. For the inner and innermost vitality that a man emits through blowing with force. So we learn from ourselves. When we look at the Torah and we see an expression, the Zohar says, and it says the concept of God, nafachta bi, God blew within me. Look at yourself. When you blow, you need to take a deep breath and you blow from your inside, from your diaphragm, from your inside. And that's what God did. Kachal derech moshel, so too, allegorically, nishamis Yisrael olo b'machshava. The soul of man was risen in God's thought. And now this goes even deeper. So the difference, we want to go in even more delicate, the difference between the rest of creation and the soul, this second soul, is that the rest of creation is through speech. And the creation of this soul comes through thought. Kirchsiv, as we find another interesting verse, two verses. It says, B'ni b'chayri Yisrael, Israel is my firstborn. Banim atem Hashem Elokeichem. You are the children unto the Lord. Again, the Torah is not good one-liners. The Torah was not given to give you, neon lights, expressions to shock you, expressions to impress upon you. The Torah is the Torah emes. Torah is a book of truth. It's a book of ahira. It's a book of tell you what, trying to allude to you something. What is the light in that you are the firstborn? What is the meaning you are the children of God? What is the meaning? What is the Torah talking to you? I'm not a God is my father. These are not expressions. These statements that the Torah says comes to teach you something. So what does it come to teach you? What again does the pnimi, what is the inner aspect that you are the children of God? That I am the children, I'm a Jew, and I am the child of God. So the answer is, Alter Rebbe says, you got to understand the pnimis. Pirush k'moisha ben nimshech m'moyachav. That is to say, just like a child comes from the thought of his father, because everything comes from wisdom, Kach kaviyachol. So too, allegorically, it's all an example. Again, the Torah talks to the verb and the expression of a human being. Kol ish Yisrael, every Jewish person, this is powerful words, nimshach mimachshavte uchachos yizbarach, comes, derives from God's thought and wisdom. Our godly soul comes from the Pnimis HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because it comes from God's speech. Our body comes from God's speech. Our soul comes from the thought of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It comes from God's wisdom. So now we come to a new concept, and that is Chachma. Chachma shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The wisdom of God. Now that's an interesting expression, because we also have wisdom. So is our wisdom like God's wisdom? Far from it. And this is the wording of the Rambam. For he is wise, he possesses a quality wisdom, but not with a wisdom that is known to us created beings. Because he and his wisdom are one. And that's a very important thing. The Rambam writes, the Rambam, he is the knowledge and simultaneously the knower. By human beings, there's the knower and the knowledge. Two different realities, two different worlds. The knower and the knowledge are sometimes far away from one another. That's what King Solomon said, I have wisdom, but it's very far from me. Because there's the knower and the knowledge. He who knows and comprehends through the knowledge, and he that which is known. God is also the subject of knowledge and comprehension, as Maimonides concludes. So look at the explanation over here. This meaning is that God's wisdom and comprehension are totally different from man. If a human being's comprehension, there are three separate distinctive components. The person's soul, the knower, and the possessor of knowledge. He's the knower. B, the power of intellect and comprehension, the knowledge by which the person knows. And then there's the knowledge. The subject of knowledge, the known. So there's the knower, there's the knowledge, and there is the known. Such as a law in the Mishnah or in the discussion of the Gemara, which is apprehended and known. So there is the Gemara, there is me, and there's my knowledge. I'm supposed to bring them all together. Ultimately, I may never know the true knowledge, the true thing that is known, the subject, because there's a lot of depths to the subject. And I might be still far from the subject. Concerning God's wisdom, however, Maimonides states, he is the knowledge, the knower, and the known. Who are he has all, by Abish, it's all one. Can't separate. God is in means and comprehension, the knowledge, at the same time as he is understanding, the knower, and also that is understood, the known. Why does the Rambam write this? Why does the Rambam want to express this? And the answer is, the Rambam wants to express this in each and every one of us, that we should realize the Torah is the Chachma of the Eibishter. The Torah is the wisdom of God. And that's God. Because you cannot separate wisdom of God from him. So you should realize, the Rambam says, by learning Torah, you are grasping God. And the Alter Rebbe will bring this out later. Because you cannot separate the knowledge from God. So if you understand that the Torah is the wisdom of God, so then the Torah and God is one. Because as a human being, you can separate the person from his knowledge. If a guy writes a book, and he writes a knowledgeable book, They say the famous story, the great professors Spinoza, they once caught him with doing an immoral act. And they asked him how, Spinoza, you're a philosopher, wrote such unbelievable philosophical books. How is it possible you do such an immoral act? And he says, there's Spinoza, the philosopher, and there's Spinoza, the man. He's still a man. There's a man and there's his philosophy. I can write books, but then there's me. I'm a Spinoza. I'm a man, like any other man. By the Eibishter, by God, his wisdom is him. And he is wisdom. You can't separate the two. That's why you can't separate the Torah from God. That's what the Greeks, that's what we're celebrating Hanukkah today. The Greeks wanted to separate the Torah from God. The Torah is a book of philosophy. It's a book of knowledge. You want to acquire knowledge? Open the Torah. It's a beautiful book of knowledge. It's like like one of the books on your shelf. You have books of knowledge. You have the Torah also. It's a book of knowledge. Then you don't know God, the Rambam says. You don't know what God is if you say it's just another book of knowledge. Grabbing the Torah is grabbing God. Because God and his knowledge is one. This is the same concept that the Alter Rebbe wants to bring out over here. Your soul, that's why he started off the chapter. The soul of a Jew, second soul, is a part of God. Because if we say it comes from God's thought, this soul, from God's knowledge, then his knowledge and him is one. So each and every one of us is walking with a piece of God. It's a very powerful thing. This is a very extremely powerful concept. If you understand, if we all understand it, you have unbelievable power in your hand. But the Rambam writes that ultimately, that this concept, what I just said, the Rambam says, that by God, everything is one, is very hard for a human being to comprehend because it's out of his realm of the way he understands knowledge and the way he understands wisdom. It doesn't make sense to him. By him, there's compartments, there's different concepts. By God, it's all one. By humans, everything has a separate place. There's, as I said, the man in the knowledge, and this is his knowledge. And that's why it says, God says, the prophets says, will you search God and find him? Are you serious? The prophet says, God says, my thought is not your thought. So the truth is, we're totally different entities, and that's why you should never ever put God into any kind of a criteria. It's all again the expression of man. God puts himself into criteria that we should understand him, but not that we can put God into a concept. So that's what Rambam says. Maimonides says that even though God, his wisdom is, but that's impossible for a human being really to comprehend. And that's why I said before that even King Solomon said, I have wisdom, but it's far from me. Because Chachma, the Alter Rebbe is going to say a little later, is what is it? Real wisdom is something that nobody can grasp. The Mishnah says, whoever says, I have acquired Chachma, doesn't know what Chachma is. Chachma is not attainable. Chachma is searchable. That's what we call a sage. Even a sage, we call Talmud Chacham, a student of wisdom. We are all students of wisdom. We are acquiring wisdom. We will never, ever acquire wisdom to its fullest. Surely the wisdom of the Torah. So Alter Rebbe continues over here in the box over here. That's the Hagah, which means the appendage. I don't know how I say it in English. The added to Hoydele Chachma Kabbalah, and the Kabbalists agreed with the Rambam that God can be described as knowledge, knower, and known, as stated in Pardes and Moshe Kumbedor. So this was a major argument that Rambam, other Jewish philosophers. But Alter Rebbe writes that Kabbalah agrees with the Rambam in this. Even according to the Kabbalah of Arizal, my modern statement stands. So the Kabbalah of the Arizal provides even a deeper insight into the limitless of God's essence, higher than even the level of knowledge in which my mind refers to. So that Chachma Stima, you have in Kabbalah even a wisdom that's hidden, that's even a deeper concept of wisdom. But the Rambam doesn't talk in that kind of concept. The Rambam talks about, three basic components. Still, even according to the teachings that Arizal, my Mani statement is acceptable, with one proviso, however. This is the only when applied to the mystical principles of the clothing of Eid Seif, by the means of numerous contractions, tzimtzum in the vessels of Sfiras Chabad, Akman, Chochma, Bina, and Das. So this is the Rambam stands only after tzimtzum, after the contraction of God. We can put God into wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. We can express it, though. We can give an analogy, but not to the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's above those concepts. The care of the Chochmah of Atzilus, as it's Atzilus, but not higher than the world of Atzilus. Above the world of Atzilus, the knowledgeable God cannot be defined. Accordingly, in terms of Kabbalistic scale, Maimonides has nothing to say about God except from the world of Atzilus and down. That's basically the difference between Arizal and the Rambam. So the Rambam is talking about below the world of emanation, and Arizal is talking about above the world of emanation. So above the world of emanation, the Rambam, you don't have the concept of the knower and the knowledge, because over there they cannot even put it into. You can't put God. He's infinite. Can't put God in any. So we're talking about God comes into the world. When Shekosov Makamacha has brought down elsewhere, she ain't safe, but that ain't safe, blessed be He, is infinitely exalted over, that transcends the essence of the love of Chabad. So the essence of God, when you go God, you can't say He's a Chacham, He's a Bina, He has understanding. All these are human expressions. So that's after tzimtzum, after contractions of the world where God contracted Himself, came down in the world of emanation. Ultimately, you can have these expressions. So when you talk about the infinite God, God ain't safe, then wisdom, knowledge, understanding is like a physical action. It's like physicality. It's like a human. It's like in comparison to God. As it says, "Kulam b'chachma sisi," you have made everything with wisdom. So you made everything with wisdom. So once it comes into an action, the physical world, now you have wisdom. Where God's above anything physical, He's above the concept of wisdom. So you have conceived them all with wisdom, which seemed to be appropriate, conceiving, not making, surely the proper function of God's wisdom. You have made them all with wisdom. Indicates, however, that God's wisdom, the highest level within the world, is lowly as Asiya, the lowest level. In comparison to God, God's wisdom of the world of Atzilus is like a physical thing, because God is above any comprehension. The Alter Rebbe now goes and addresses difficulty arising from his previous statement that every soul emanates the divine wisdom. Since all soul emanates from one source, supernal wisdom, it should follow that all souls are the same level and rank. How then we have various levels and ranks found in the Jewish soul come about? How is it possible to be tzaddikim, beinim, and Rishayim? We said there's three kinds of Jews. If we all come from the wisdom of God, we should all be the same. And we're not. The Pasuk says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm speaking to all the Jews, from those that are the leaders to those that are the non-leaders, different jobs in the Jewish nation. Why are we all the same? That was Kairach. That was Kairach's philosophy. He says, we all come from the same place, so we're all Kadeshim, we're all holy. So why is Moshe Rabbeinu a leader and we are followers? We're all leaders. Truth is, that's where this comes from, that the Jews are all leaders. Because we all come from Chachma. We're in Chachma, we are all leaders. Question is how Chachma comes down, how wisdom comes down. That's how the Alter Rebbe explained it. Nevertheless, there are myriads of different gradations of souls, rank upon rank, the ain't Kates infinitely. Like the souls of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, and Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, the soul of Moses, right? Moshe Rabbeinu. Imagine Moshe was called Moshe Rabbeinu, the leader, the Jewish teacher for all generations. He's unbelievable. You don't find that in any other situation. That Moshe Rabbeinu, Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov. We give them a status, even though they're part of the Jewish nation, but they're a different level because they have a different level of soul. Al Hashemas, they say now the souls of our generation, Eila the Ikvas Mashiach, our generation that are footsteps of Mashiach. So that's why we're called Ikvim. We are called the heels. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Ikvas Mashiach in the Gemara, we're called the souls of the heels of Mashiach. What is that? Why you say the expression the heels? Because we are like the heels, like the foot. In comparison to Moshe Rabbeinu, that's the head. So ultimately, there's a soul from Moshe Rabbeinu and a Zalman Book. And the truth is that I'm never going to be Moshe Rabbeinu. And I'm not supposed to be Moshe Rabbeinu. So to each and every one of us, we're not supposed to be somebody else. We're supposed to be ourselves. We're supposed to be our own expression, our own soul. So too in every generation. Forget about, not even talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. In every single generation, there are those who are the head, the leaders of the multitude of Israel, so designated because their souls is in the category of a head. In comparison to the masses and those that are ignorant, their souls come from a lower place. Similarly, similar distinction between the souls and nefesh. For every soul consists of nefesh, ruach, neshama. 5 levels of the soul: nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. Nefesh is the basic principle of the soul. Ruach is the emotions of the soul. Neshama is the intellect of the soul. Chaya is the life force of the soul. Yechida is the oneness of the soul. That's the part of God. Yechida Shem Nefesh, the essence of the soul. We all are zeicha to have 3 levels of the soul within us. We all could be zeicha 100% to have 3 levels: naran, nefesh, ruach, neshama. This nefesh, the life force of the nefesh, with our soul connects to our body. The ruach, the emotions of our soul, and the intellect of our soul. Each and every one of us have a different level. We're all different. Some of us have more neshama. Some of us have more intellect of the soul. Some of us have more nefesh. We're more physically connected to our soul. Some of us are more ruach. We're more emotionally. And in these 3 levels of thought, of intellect, emotion, and physical action, there are many levels. Every person is different. So even if you have 2 people that are more emotionally attached, there are different emotional attachments, different levels, different concepts. If both of us if we have many people that are intellectually more connected to their soul, there are many levels in intellect. So therefore, you have many, many different levels of souls. And that's why you have many, many different ways of doing what you're supposed to do. Because you ultimately need to do everything in life with these 3 levels of your soul. Intellect of your godly soul, your emotions of your godly soul, and ultimately nefesh, the way the godly soul connects to the physical thing that you're doing. Whether it's a mitzvah, whether it's a good deed, whether it's eating, or whatever you do. But Don't get stuck in the particulars. You have to always go to Pnimius. You always have to go to the source. And that here the Alter Rebbe comes back with a full circle and says, Mikol Mokim, nevertheless. Shtoirish kol nefesh ruach neshama. What is the source of every one of ours? Nefesh ruach neshama. What is the source? Mirosh kol adargis, from Moshe Rabbeinu at Seif kol adargis to the lowest Salman Bucket. Meluvish begufi am, even those, the soul that is in simple folks and people that are irreligious or very, very low voltage, they all have a source. It doesn't make a difference if you're a great tzaddik or you're a wicked person. All of us have a soul, and that soul is connected to the wisdom of God, which is God. Nimshach b'mayach elyon. So the Alter Rebbe says, don't forget that. Doesn't make a difference. You say, oh, but I'm a simple Jew. Oh, I'm an ignorant Jew. Oh, I'm not such a practicing Jew. It doesn't make a difference. You have an neshama. You have a part of God with you. So don't put yourself down, because your source is also extremely important. Is derived from the supernal mind, supreme mind, which is Chachmilah, the supernal wisdom, which I just said, and the Rambam said, is one with God. And that's why each and every one of us, has the essence of the soul, each and every single one of us. Whatever you want to call yourself, you're a big knacker, or you want to call yourself a small knacker, you want to call yourself a holy Jew, you want to call yourself a practicing Jew, you want to call yourself it doesn't make a difference. Each and every one of us are connected to the essence of our soul. And he goes through a whole interpretation. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go over here. Trust me, this you can go and you can learn this. You should go to this. I'm sharing Chabad.org. And you can go back there and read this again and again. And you should. Because these are the foundations of Tanya. These are the foundations of Chassidus. And these are the foundations of each and every one of our lives. That's the analogy. The analogy of the Torah is you're the children of God. Where does a child come from? Comes from the thought of the father. Even his toenails come from the sperm of the father, which, how does the father create that sperm? Through his knowledge. And then this knowledge, which creates this droplet, that's why the Mishnah says, you came from a drop. Every one of us came from a drop. Where did that drop come from? It came from the mind of the father. And when this drop comes together with the mother, and now 9 months later you have a child. That's in Kabbalah. That's the concept of Chochmah and Bina. Chochmah is the drop. Chochmah is a point, and it comes to Bina, understanding. And now it digests itself. It becomes something. Hopefully, by being in the mother's womb for 9 months, what happens? They take this machshava of the father that's in this drop. The mother has the capability, the mother who's Bina has the capability to take that drop. That's the greatness of the mother. Has the capability to take one drop and create a whole child. From the top of his head, from his wisdom to the toenail. L'shtanis, l'havis menetzipanayim would ultimately come down into the toenail. Now, why is it saying toenail? Because we know the toenail is the lowest concept because it's cut off. We cut the toenails. We cut our nails. But still, that toenail, which you cut off, comes still off from the machshava of the father. Because if the father wouldn't have a machshava, we wouldn't have a child. So everything comes from that situation. So though the child's organs all derive from the same source, the drop of semen, which comes from the brain of the father, yet they develop into entities as radical diverse as the brain and the nails. So too, the machshava of the Eibishter, the wisdom of God, creates millions of souls, millions upon millions. Each one different, each one unique, each one with its own purpose. All coming from the machshava, so to say, the thought of God. That's why we say the expression, God is like a smith who creates a coin. But when he creates a coin, it's made out of the same, it's all out of one mold and everything's the same. The Eibishter creates soul after soul after soul after soul, each unique, each different, each with another purpose. One soul cannot be there without the other. One soul cannot, the whole world will not be in existence without that soul. This is such unbelievable concepts. And number two is very important now that Rebbe said continues, as we come to the end of our today's time. And you might say, but right now I'm a terrible person. Oh, I'm not a good person. My friends, in Kol Zephyr, although the drop has been altered to become the substance of the man's child's nails, yet it's still bonded, it's united with a wondrous and mighty unity. The and its original essence of being, namely that drop of semen, as it came from the father's brain. Child, that's what Kibud Av V'Eim is so important. Because you have to honor your father and your mother because you came from them. Every aspect in your life, in my life, came from my parents. That I'm thinking today is because my father and mother created me. So I'm still connected. My father and mother are not here anymore. They're in Gan Eden. But I'm still connected because it all came about through their union. I wouldn't think, I wouldn't do anything, I wouldn't have anything if not for that connection. If not for my father's thought and my mother's development of that thought. And even right now, the Ben, as I'm a child of my parents, my nails received its original nourishment from that thought. So that it continues. That's what the Gemara says, that this is the hardest mitzvah, Kibud Av V'Eim. Why? Because we want our own identity. We want to separate ourselves from our parents. We struggle with that relationship. Like we struggle with God. Because we believe that by having a relationship with God, we lose our own identity. And it's the opposite. It's total opposite. Because the Eibishter wants every person to have their own identity. Because he gives you that who gives you your own identity is God who gave you your own identity. Your parents also want you to have your own identity. Gemara says parents are always happy when their children actually go better than them. Which parent is jealous of his child? Talking about healthy parents. Parents want you to have your identity. As it brought down the Gemara, Lavan Shemegena Gidim at Summers, the Gemara from there, the Gemara explains what each the father and mother give to the child. So for the father's drop of semen, it forms the veins, the bones, nails of the child. So everything in Kabbalah explains, what the father gives and what the mother gives, and creates this entity, this child. And whatever the child will have, all comes from that creation. According to Kabbalah here, there's a connection between the nails and the brain, as shall be present. Because of Eitz Chaim, Shara Chashmal, was built on in Eitz Chaim in Kabbalah. It's like it stated a connection to the esoteric principles of Adam's garments in Gan Eden. That's why it comes to the original. So I mentioned Sunday in the class that when Adam Yeshua was created, he was like nails. It was nails. His whole body was nails. It was expression. So the nails is the lowest, but ultimately you can see through nails. So his whole body was like nails. So it came from something that's very high. So you learn another thing, consider something that's very high, falls very low. That's why you have to be careful with your nails. In halacha, that you're not allowed to throw your nails. When you cut your nails, you have to burn it, or make sure that it doesn't just fall on the ground. It's buried because it has in essence a very high spirituality, and that's why it's very high tumah. It's the opposite of it. Everything has its exactly so, as it were, in the case of Sheiris kol nefesh ruach neshama kol Yisrael. Just like a child. That's why it says, you are the children of God. Because just like a child comes from his father and mother, and ultimately comes from the machshava, the thought of the parents. As the Alter Rebbe says, that's why it's very important, the thought of the parents in time of conception. So too, we all come from the thought of God. The soul descends by degree through the shtalshus of the world of Atzilus, from the world of emanation, Bria to the world of creation, to the world of formation, and ultimately to the world of action. All comes from a Chachma Yisbarach, all comes from the wisdom of God. It says you have created all with wisdom. Everything emanates from wisdom, which is the source of all the shtalshlus, is the descent of godliness to the world. So ultimately, from that wisdom comes down nefesh, ruach, neshama of simple folks and common people come into being. But nevertheless, these simple and common folks, which we all are, simple and common. I don't talk about everybody on here. Talk about myself. I'm simple and I'm a common guy. Im kozeh, even though I'm a simple and I'm a common person, Oidena Kshura, right now, my soul is connected. Is connected with a powerful unity and oneness. My soul is connected to the essence of my soul in its original source. Where is the original source? This is my original source as it's right now. My soul is connected to its original source, which is the wisdom of God. So my soul is connected to God. That's all I'm trying to say ultimately, because the wisdom of God is God. Because you cannot separate God from his wisdom. So my soul is right now connected to God himself. For the nurture, the life force of nefesh shama of simple people are drawn from the nefesh shama of the righteous, the sages, the heads of Israel generation. So if you understand this concept in general, my soul is connected through my parents' soul. My soul is connected through a godly man's soul. Because if my soul comes from the world of Asiya, then the higher souls come from the world of action, and the higher souls come from the world of formation. And the higher souls come from the world of creation. The highest souls of tzaddikim come from the world of emanation. So that's why ultimately my soul is interconnected to all souls and ultimately connected to the souls of righteous individuals. So they're the power station. I'm small voltage. My small voltage is ultimately connected to the power station. It's connected to God. And therefore, the best way for me to slowly get moving towards a higher level is connect to people that are higher than me. to learn from people that are greater than me. Ultimately, to connect to a righteous person that his soul is much higher than my soul. And actually, this, in a way, the source ultimately of that soul. All interconnected. But ultimately, that higher soul is connected also to the source of God. It all comes from the same place. And Moshe Rabbeinu's soul comes from God, and my soul comes from God. But I call Moshe Rabbeinu because he teaches me. My soul learns from his soul. My soul is interconnected in his soul. I call the patriarchs my mother and my father because my soul is connected to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. My soul comes from them. That's why I call them the patriarchs and the matriarchs. That's easy. That doesn't take away from the importance of my soul to say that, oh, my soul comes from them. No, that gives me, it gives me pride to come and be connected to higher levels of souls. Doesn't take away from the importance of my soul. It doesn't. They don't want, even a tzaddik doesn't want to take away from your soul, because a tzaddik understands the importance of every soul in the world. And this will understand the statement of the sages. The dafka, when God says to cleave to Him, the Gemara says, how do you cleave to God? How do you do that? The Torah says, cleave to me. How do you do that? Give me, what should I do? Again, it's the expression of Torah, cleave to me. So it said, Torah says, do what I say, I understand, do a mitzvah. But what means to cleave to God? And the Gemara says, whoever cleaves to a righteous man, to a sage, the Gemara says when you cleave to a sage, it's like you're cleaving to a Kodesh Baruch. That's why the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, may your home be a place for sages. May you sit by the feet of the sages. Because by sitting by the feet of the sages, what are they? They're just closer. They're closer to the source. Why wouldn't I want to be closer to the source? I'm come from the world of Asiya. My soul comes from the world of action. Why would I want to be close to a person that comes from the world of emanation, which is actually the source of the world of action? Get close to my source gives me the capability to awaken my own soul. For through the attachment to sages, the souls of a simple people are bonded and united, which is the original essence, their source in the supernal wisdom. It gives me the capability through my connection to a sage, to a tzaddik. It gives my soul the capability, it's greater connection, because I'm so far down the low. So if I can go and connect to somebody who has a higher, I have the capability of even not only the aspect of connecting to something higher, but even awakening my own soul, which is very low. But ultimately, and thereby by God Himself, for He is the wisdom, because that's the ultimate. The ultimate is not the sage. Moshe is Rabbeinu, our teacher. He's teaching us how to be close to God. That's the important thing over here is God. Not the sage, God. Sage is only giving me the capabilities, can't do it. That gives me a very low soul to be able to have a higher connection. But we all want to connect to God. The sage wants to connect to God, and I want to connect to God. That's why even the sage says, a sage says, I've learned more. I've learned from my teachers, but I've learned from my students more than I learned from my teachers. So the sage sees the greatness of connecting to souls that are lower than him, students, so to say, because not only it elevates the students, it elevates the sage. Because both of us, the sage and the student, want to connect to God. And you have those that are willful, sinful rebels against sages. There are certain people that are rebels against the sages and the rabbis and Torah. So how do they receive their life force? Unikas nefesh neshama shalom mechnas achraim shnefesh neshama. They ultimately, everybody receives the life from this descent of souls, which has to pass through the souls of the world of Atzilus, which is the souls of the great sages, of the tzaddikim. So ultimately, they receive it from the backside of the sages. That's written in the Zohar. That the most important thing for parents is that they conduct themselves in a holy manner at the time of sexual union. In the case of children of simple folks that do not conduct themselves correctly at the time of the sexual union. So really, so in essence, the Zohar says that it's up to human action to what kind of soul you have. So if one's parents were not so holy, then maybe it's not their fault. They had an immoral, whatever they were thinking at the time of conception. Now they've given their child a very low soul. Alter Rebbe says no, it doesn't mean that. Alter Rebbe says that, look what he says. Every soul, again, nefesh, ruach, neshama, which are the three lowest levels of every soul, is without a garment which stems from the nefesh and the mother's essence. Every one of us, two parts to the soul. Is the essence of the soul and the garments of the soul. Every parent gives their child garments, character. And that character could be flawed because of the thought of the parents at the time of conception. The Zohar says. And that, you might say, who cares? Let the kid. Well, that's a struggle for the child. So the child now, whatever it's going to do in life, is going to have that garment, and it'll be very difficult for him to change. He could change it, but it'll be difficult for him. That's why there's an expression that David HaMelech said, "I was born through sin." Goyim love that expression, non-Jewish world. That the sexual union is a sin, and blah blah blah. But it doesn't mean that at all. It means that David HaMelech said, my parents didn't want to, if you know the story, that the parents actually didn't want to have a union together. And they felt it was done through a sin. And therefore he proved himself, overcame himself. He overcame those garments himself, David HaMelech. Because he was born with garments that were, so to say, sin. And he changed it. Because David HaMelech is understood that even though his parents gave him certain garments, the Eibishter gives him his neshama. So your parents give you certain things, but God gives you your soul. And your soul comes from the wisdom of God, and therefore it can change all garments. And ultimately, all the mitzvahs that you do come through this garment. Even all the benevolence that comes from the heaven comes through that levush. Because the soul is so strongly bound up with the garments, the Zohar refers to the garments in this context as a person's soul. But it's not the person's soul. It's the garments. The garments are very powerful. The character of a child is extremely powerful. And we shouldn't take that lightly. And therefore, when parents will sanctify themselves, they'll bring down a holy garment, the neshama's benay, to the child. So that's why a ben tzaddik. That's why if you're a son of a tzaddik, it's much easier. It's like the expression, you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. The tzaddik's son is much stronger. It says Yitzhak, the prayer of Yitzhak he was a son of a tzaddik, Avraham and Sarah. while Rivka was a child of Besuel, was a child of Rishayim. So she was considered a rose between the thorns. But Yitzchak was a child of two great people. So therefore, he had a much easier concept to him. So too again, Yaakov. Yaakov was not only a child of a, he was a child of a tzaddik, Ben tzaddik. He had grandparents who were great tzaddik. But Rachel and Leah had evil parents. So therefore, when you're a son of, if you're a child of a tzaddik and a tzaddikis, you have garments that are much easier to work with. Even if he has a great soul, he needs to. Even if he has a great soul, he needs to have his parents to mekadosh, to have the right intentions. But the soul itself, in Lapama Nishmas Adin Gavoy Le'en Kate, Bali is Benoishal Adin Nizrashaf. Sometimes it happens the soul of an infinitely lofty person comes to be the son of an ignorant and lowly person. You can have it both ways. You can have great people have simple children, and you have simple people have great children. Great children. Rabbi Akiva, for example, son of converts, came one of the greatest sages in history because he was given a Shama. Yaakov and Esav. Both of them came from great tzaddikim. One was given a soul of Yaakov, one was given a soul of Esav. The neshama is given to you by God. Now you're going to say, but my parents, my grandparents, well, take your neshama and work out your garment issues. As Arizal explains, and the meaning of mitzvahs in Parshat Bereshis. Very powerful Tanya of the day, my friends. Beautiful Tanya, second chapter of Tanya. Hope you understood it. I wish you all a happy Hanukkah. Today is the 26th day of the month, which is the second half of chapter 119 in Tehillim. So it starts from the letter Mem until the letter Taf. That's the second half of the chapter 119, and you would do the chitas of the day. I want to wish you all a happy Hanukkah, and Mitzvah will continue the chitas. Mitzvah will continue tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We'll continue the chitas of the day.